Hello. Welcome to this week's edition of Greet the Week. And Jan has our topic for today. And she asked, have you ever noticed that you end up feeling good when you're around certain people and your mood just kind of soars, but then not so much whenever you're around others? Which type of people do you prefer to be with? Which ones do you seek out? Which ones help to improve your mood, or which ones take you down? And if you're in a funk, how do you get out of it? So, Jan, we're talking about happiness being contagious. What do you
Right.
have on your mind for that?
Yes, I saw that somewhere. And something that I got through email, and I said, well, that's a great way to look at it because it really is contagious. And if you don't feel very happy, but you want to be, find somebody who is. You have to know somebody who is happy, or just watch comedies or something to put you in a good mood, because when everybody looks like they're having a good time and joking, laughing around and stuff, it's hard not to catch that happiness bug. And I was looking back too upon my life and how it has changed so much in the last 15, 20 years. Some of that I attribute it to learning about choice theory and learning how I can affect my thoughts, I can affect my feelings. There's so much I have in my power that I took for granted before. I didn't even realize that I could do. And once you learn about that, then you go and you can find happiness. You look for the things that help you feel good about yourself and help you get into a better mood. And it's I don't know how. I know we've talked about this several times here, but I just feel like we don't say it enough because there's so many unhappy people around. There's so many people who are angry. I mean, if you just look at posts that they make in social media, and I just have to shake my head sometime and say, wow, there's so many unhappy people out here. So let's pass around some happy juice and get people catching the bug to be happy and to feel good about themselves. And so I was just thinking that we could talk about all the different ways that we can feel happy. And then yesterday evening, usually on Sunday evenings, I invite my son and his wife over for dinner because they live in town. And well, I used to do that when the kids were little, or when they were in college and they were all kind of scattered, but they all went to school here in town. I'd have Sunday dinner, and that was an open invitation every Sunday. So I'm trying to keep that custom going. And I'm thinking about this, when they come over, I want to make it a pleasant experience for them. I want to talk about things that are on a positive note. I don't want to go nagging them for not calling me or not doing the things that I want them to do. But I want to create an atmosphere that's pleasant, because I want them to want to come over. And that's the thing. I mean, you think about people that complain about how their kids don't ever call, don't ever come over, and it's like, well, what are you saying, and how are you talking to them when you are in touch with them? And does it create an atmosphere where they want to come over? And if you want them to call more often, to come over more often, you got to create a happy atmosphere so they're feeling good, where they're catching that happiness bug, and so that they want to come talk to you because it is a positive experience.
Yeah.
And kind of because there's just so much we can do to improve our situation and make life so much better than what it is. And then that's all you want to do. It's kind of like a drug, I guess, to feel good. And then you'll watch a movie or something. I mean, I'm real bad about this. I really don't like movies because so many of them bring me down. And so many of them, there's a lot of violence and negative stuff happening there. And it's like, ooh, why do I want to watch this? This is taking me in a place I don't want to go. And
Right.
I don't know. I just thought I'd bring that up and see what kind of discussions we get off of that.
Right. Well, whenever you tell them that happiness is contagious, you know how I like words. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking,
Yeah.
well, now what is the difference in contagious and infectious? Because,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So I looked it up. Contagious, if something is contagious, you can get it by being either directly or indirectly around it. As in, someone has the flu and they're sneezing.
Yeah.
Well, just the
Yeah.
fact that it gets all over the room, it is contagious. You can, if you're not healthy enough, or if your system is not as up to it or whatever, you can be infected by it, whether just being around it. But contagious has to be something that you internalize, as in food poisoning. You can eat something and somebody else can eat something, but everyone at the gathering can eat something that had food poisoning in it, and they can all get sick, of course, in varying degrees of that, because it's infectious. It's something that happens internally. But you can't give someone else food poison by being around them or shaking their hand.
Right.
It's not contagious, but
Fortunately,
it
you
is
can't.
infectious. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But happiness, as well as grumpiness,
Right. Yes, that's the other side. Yeah.
is something that is contagious, meaning that it rubs off on,
Hmm.
that it can either help to spark you up or help to pull you down, unless we are healthy enough within our own self to even eat that potato salad that's already turned rancid, that causes that we would get maybe nauseous if we keep ourselves healthy enough. Are you with me?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
keep
That's
ourselves
right.
healthy
Yeah.
enough physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, that it may affect us, but it's not going to take us to the hospital, or just
Right.
it's going to
Right.
affect us as bad as someone that has a weakened condition. And so the same thing is with our mentalness. As we can keep our mental abilities always taking the high road, as opposed to automatically going the low road.
Yeah.
It's just always looking at, it is what it is. So what? How am I going to handle it?
Right.
Am I going to let it take me down, or am I going to, sure, let those children, let that son, let that daughter, let them buoy you even up, more than maybe you were without them coming, just the anticipating of their visit or whatever. Let them, give them permission to,
Yes.
and
Right.
enjoying the conversation, the give and take, and the seeing, and so forth.
Yeah. We're
And
talking
then,
about, you mentioned taking the high road. A lot, sometimes you think, and I've had clients, who would say this, it's like, well, why do I have to do all the work? And you're looking at it as though it's a bad thing to do that and take the high road. But the consequences are so wonderful that, that if you do that, because then relationships do become stronger and people come together a little bit more. I mean, you're using those connecting habits, and putting your own ego aside for a minute to focus on the relationship, and what can I do to make this relationship better, instead of at the moment right now I'm feeling miserable and I'm going to bring everybody down with me. I really don't like what that person said, and they always say that kind of stuff, and I'm going to put them in their place. What is that going to get you?
yeah. And even if they do have something to share that is a downer,
Yeah.
just hearing and caring sometimes can kind of get it out of the way,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that it
Validating what they have to say, not
right,
necessarily agreeing with what's going on, but validating how they're feeling.
right, and not allowing it to be the elephant in the room that's there that no one's going to address.
That's right.
So that you can be comfortable. And that kind of goes with affecting or effecting, and looking that affect is to adopt, to have something that you're willing to be a part of, whereas effect is kind of like the aftermath. Of
Hmm.
course, the aftermath can be pleasant. It can be either
Right.
or, but it's a later than. And so, whenever we are in the midst of anything, how are we going to handle it? Is it going to be in such a way that later on the people that was around us at that time can have a positive effect?
Yes.
That, oh, hey, yeah, I didn't really understand why she did that, but there may have been a little logic in that madness or whatever.
Or saying, well, that person must really be struggling to respond in that way. And maybe you can show compassion for that person, try to really understand where they're coming from instead of taking it personally. Well, you attacked me. Well, what's going on with you? I mean, I had somebody once do that to me where I was just in a pissy mood, and it seemed like I was just complaining about everything. And she finally turned to me and said, "Are you okay? This is so unlike you to be like this." And I mean, that kind of took me aback for a minute because I didn't really realize what I was doing.
Right. So she didn't say, "Get over it."
No, she didn't. Which may be something I would have said. I don't know.
But gave you an invitation to acknowledge that you were kind of in that mood.
Yeah.
And whether or not you confessed, and bared your soul, just being aware of the fact that, you know what, I'm a downer here.
Right.
Then we can take the responsibility of guiding our own life, because you know what, the only person that you have any control over is self, and what we think and what we act, and everything associated with it, which includes attitudes and facial expressions and everything.
And there is so much you can do. You have so much power. You don't even realize that you have in order to create a better life for yourself. If you don't like the way you look, well, you need to lose a few pounds. Well, learn what you can do to drop those pounds. Maybe go and get a new haircut or something to do things. I mean, there's just so many things that you could do on your own, but just sitting there and wishing and hoping that things are going to get better, it just doesn't happen that way. You have to put some effort.
We have to think about and kind of have to make them become better. And that making is not, pressing against. It's just being open and welcoming and gracious, and letting it rub off on others so that they're able to do that also.
Yeah.
And realize that I belong here.
Or go find other people who are happy and gracious, and go rub elbows with them a little bit and see how that helps you to
right, exactly.
feel better.
Yeah. And it is realizing that, well, as you said, we do have much more power than we give ourselves credit for. And just changing our thoughts about something is going to automatically change our mood.
Yeah.
If we will just recognize that. And whether it's obvious or not, everyone in life, they're kind of here to help us, or they're here to affect us, or
they affect us. They affect us in some way. We decide whether it's positive or negative, but you decide who you want in your life and who you don't. And some of those negative people you still want in your life, but you have to learn how to protect yourself when you're around them.
Right. And you can't change them, but you can change your thoughts and attitude toward them.
Yeah.
You can change it toward that person, and realize that, sometimes we do have to put a little more space between us, a little less space with those that we do find to be the downers.
Right.
Without judging them as being a downer. I like to give myself a little mantra for the days. And my mantra for today is no judgments passed. And I want to live that way. But if I start off, well, today's the day that there's no judgments passed. And sometimes I write them out and put them in little strips so that I can pull them out, to really know, what's a good one for today.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's a good thing to think about, to give yourself something to work on for the day, and catch yourself
Right, because I don't know that we cannot judge. I mean,
Right.
you know,
It's
that's
hard.
a gift that we've been given.
Right. It
But
still serves a purpose.
sometimes we make it a gift we want to, put on others.
Right. Right. And let them know about it, what they need to do.
Right, right. And so even if you do have a suggestion, it's as a suggestion, or have you ever thought about, or
Yeah.
rather than rather than having all the answers.
So it's also a way to be proactive about turning negative feelings into positive feelings, and that is understanding that you can be around other people or just do something, different things that you enjoy that can help you to catch happiness again and to feel self-worth or feel good about yourself. And but it does take work. It does take you have to be aware of what's going on, and not allow yourself to get in such a bad situation.
And in being aware, it's how are you contributing to the lightness or the heaviness?
Right. Yeah.
As we could begin to realize, and am I really a change agent? And the person, if I want to be a change agent, then I need to look here and see, to let it happen organically.
Hmm.
It's not a and it's also to realize that the pursuit of happiness, the contagion of happiness, the whatever, that it's not something, well, it's a lifelong pursuit.
It is. Right. You have to keep at it.
You have you have to keep at it, and it is realizing that seeing it sooner, stopping it quicker. There was a time that, oh, boy, I would really get upset about that, and now I'm just slightly ticked.
Right. And then the feeling
And
doesn't
then,
last very long. Yeah.
yeah, and give
Yeah.
yourself a pat on the back that, hey, I'm developing that muscle of not being so judgmental, or
Yeah.
I'm developing that muscle of letting the clown that thinks he's a clown and I think he's a jerk.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find something there that's entertaining.
You just kind of put up with his antics, and instead of getting all upset about it.
Right, but putting up with, again, it doesn't have to be a frown.
Right. Right. Right.
We can I don't know if it would be putting up with it. We can tolerate it.
Right.
That learning to tolerate, and that doesn't mean agreeing. It's agreement doesn't mean approval.
No, it doesn't.
Acceptance doesn't mean approval. I accept you as you are.
Right.
Doesn't mean I approve of.
Whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And I think that's a lesson to learn, as your children start getting older, going from those adolescent to young adult years where they're no longer under your in living in your household, and they're now making their own decisions and doing their own things, is to, when they say something, instead of being judgmental and saying, well, that was a stupid thing to do anyway, or what are you going to do a month from now when things change. It's just like, okay, they're excited about it, so you show excitement for them, be happy for them because they're excited about it, and let them worry about the consequences, because it's not your problem. It's not your thing to deal with. But how many times do we jump in there and say, have you thought about what might happen later on when you've got this burden here now, and how are you going to take care of it? Like, it doesn't
yeah.
matter. It's not your issue anymore. They're,
And
they're
just
really coming to you more just to bring you into their world. And
because you matter.
right. So you want to
Yeah,
continue to matter.
yeah, right. And so I just wish you the best, whether, and I know with my daughter, many times I kind of ask, what is it you need from me? Is it
Yeah.
is it just understanding? Are you needing advice? Because I don't want to jump in there and tromp on toes whenever it's not needed, because
Yeah.
I value this relationship too much.
Yes. Yes.
So let me just hear. Let me just, hear what you're saying, and the fact that I care. And that also that I see talents and abilities within you that I know you'll come to the right decision.
Yeah.
That I trust you.
You have faith in them. You're confident in them because you know that you raised them well, and you brought up all these values in them growing up, and now it's time for them to go test it out. And some things are going to work out well and some things aren't. But we learned from those failures. We learned from the things that don't work out, and we stumble, we pick ourselves back up, dust ourselves off, and then, okay, now where do I go? And
well, if we are in the pursuit of happiness, we do learn from those things.
we do, yeah.
But if we're not, and we are the only ones that can decide that, so it's making that decision. Part
You're
of those
right.
35,000 decisions we make a day.
Right.
To not let that downer mood, by being someone else who's a downer, not let it automatically take us over.
Yeah.
It's saying, hey, wait a minute. I have a say in this.
Right.
I don't have a say in how you act or behave, but I have a say in how I respond to the way you act or behave.
Yeah. Because you could take it and say, oh, just another thing that shows I'm a failure. It's another thing that went wrong, another thing that didn't work. Yeah, that is another way to look at it. And then that just reinforces your thoughts about how inadequate you are. And is that really the direction you want to go?
Yeah. To just watch our mind and see what it is we're thinking. Part of the being aware is aware of our own self and what thoughts are we thinking. And
yeah, because if our thoughts are going down one direction that is not a positive one, we can redirect that. We can turn the steering wheel and go the other direction and start. And I know it's hard when you get stuck into that negative spiral. It's hard to keep those negative thoughts from coming into your head, and that's when you really have to take control and do something about it. Either do something that you know just in what that thing that you do is going to help you to feel good. Like for me, just going outside, taking a walk or something is something that'll help me to feel better. Or, for some people it's putting on music, but don't put on sad music. Put on the music for whatever it is you want to feel. If you want to feel better, put on something, maybe some old time music that'll bring you back when you were young and carefree and stuff, or have good memories. Or as I was telling Mona before the programming start, my husband and I went through and unpacked all of our pictures that we had packed away when we remodeled, and just opening up all those pictures and looking at all those happy memories it just felt so good. We didn't really do much during the day, but just, it was kind of like Christmas all over again, where you're opening the pictures up and looking at them and remembering good times. And there's just so many things that you can find around the house to help you remember the positive things. Probably things that help you remember the negative things too, but let those go. It's like, no, I'm not going to focus on those today. Let's look at the good ones. Let's look at the positive ones, and keep that good feeling going.
And happiness is a do-it-yourself job.
It is
a solitary job.
So you don't have it by yourself.
It is making good choices, and you learn to make good choices sometimes by having made bad choices, but then
it's okay.
Looking at it and evaluating it, and you want to contribute to your own pursuit of, or your own practice of, doing better the next time. It is, our habits are formed by repetition.
Yeah.
Whether that's our thought habits or our physical habits. And of course, the thoughts, it all comes in there. The thoughts are always there. And so they're formed by repetition over and over and over. So it begins to take on a life of its own. So if we're always going to look for the best or looking to make better what may not be the best situation, and let that become a habit of it, to at least see the potential that's there, and at least to see the worth and the value and the innate humanness and the innate worth and value of the person that, you know, that we're around. That could help us to have that. And, you know, after a while, a habit becomes hard to break.
Yes, it is.
Make good habits.
Right.
We want to make good habits of thoughts and actions and being gracious.
Habits are really, really hard to break. And the things we do, 90% of the stuff we do every day is a habit. It's our routine, the thing that we do over and over and over again. And when you stop them, it's difficult. But if you've got some that are not serving you, it might be time to look at it and see. Look at the people who are having what it looks like they are having a good life and they are enjoying life. What are they doing? What can I emulate? You know, some of the things they're doing. Can I change some of my negative habits into something more positive?
Right. I know when I was a kid growing up, and we always had Sunday dinner at my grandmother's house, and all the cousins and brothers and sisters and everybody was there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, bunches.
A big
Anyway,
ordeal.
big family. And my sister and I, we were the dish doers, and that was, you know, it builds character. And I was just so convinced that I could build character some other way. But, you know, it does build character. And so when things become habits, you know, we do habits, and we have, whether it's cooking or cleaning up or taking out the garbage or cleaning the toilet or, you know, whatever. It may not be the most pleasant thing in the world, but you can see that it's something that's necessary, and it does build character, and it can build esteem because I'm doing a good job.
Right.
And that is the fact that we're doing the right thing, that we're doing something that will benefit, well, us, sure, but benefit others. You know, do it for the good of the whole. That in itself is the seed plant of being content. You know, whether it's ha, laugh out, happy or not, at least it's being okay. Yeah. That I'm not going to get all in a bad mood and grouchy at everybody else because I'm the one that has to take out the trash, and there's lots of people here that could do it just as good as I can. Well, maybe so, maybe no. But even if they don't, that's your job, or that's, you know, whether just do it, but do it pleasantly.
Yeah. Right.
You know, sometimes it's just Nike time.
Yeah.
Not only is it Nike time to just do it, I know a lot of times in working with families, you know, that the kid, well, yeah, but they took the trash out, but boy, that rotten attitude, well, overlook that rotten attitude.
Yes.
A few times. And then the next thing, you know, you begin to get to the point that you can just look at the trash and they know what it means.
Right.
I'm supposed to take it out. And you may mention up and say, don't slam the door this time.
Yeah.
You know, and then if it slams again, overlook it. You said, but that's letting them get away with it. It's helping them to have a conscience. Yeah. It's helping them to begin to realize what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, because you know that they're doing it to get a reaction out of you. And so when you don't say, I mean, because they know what they did. They know they did something you didn't want them to do.
They're pushing your buttons.
Exactly.
And so if it didn't work, why keep it up? I mean, eventually the dentist around us gets that message. You know, if I keep pushing that doorbell or knocking and no one opens, then obviously no one's home, or they are, but they don't want me there.
That's right.
And so obviously I'm to keep taking out the trash, but now they're putting a few more restrictions on it. And as we can begin, and whether they slam the door, it's always thank you.
Right.
Thank you. And it's about time. Which,
right.
You know, well, it's about time you did that. No, it's just thank you. Just a plain, simple, ordinary, gracious, with grace. Thank you.
And so you're creating that that atmosphere, that environment of positivity and of good feelings by not nagging at them and
Right.
not complaining about what they
And
did.
they may be at a point that they're ready to give in, but they don't know how to give in.
Yes.
So set them up for success.
Yes.
Set them up for success. Set them up for success. And then, if they do something, if they take it out 5 minutes to 8 instead of 8 o'clock, because that's when the trash has got to be out there, you know, just applaud it. Just set up for success. And we do that by our own attitudes.
Absolutely. Yes. And that all goes into creating a positive environment that people want to be around. Because why does he want to do anything for you if you're nagging at him all the time about not taking the trash out, and then you nag at him when he does take the trash out because he's slamming the door, and then you nag at him because when he brings it in he's in a sour mood? Well, why would he want to continue to take the trash out when he's doing what you want, you're not showing any appreciation? And so if you can let all that stuff slide, because he knows what he's doing, and be appreciative and thank him, and it'll come around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we just overlook. Well, this has been interesting.
Yeah.
And, have a happy day, because see if you can't infect a few people.
That's right. Hopefully we infected a few people here today. So we'll try again next week. Thanks, everybody.